In Marvel, we know there are villains with an extremely high caliber of power. Some are capable of destroying entire cities in a single blow, while others threaten reality itself just by existing. From defeating Omega-level mutants as if they were nothing to manipulating cosmic entities for their own purposes, today we'll take a look at the 20 most powerful villains in all of Marvel. 20 Nimrod. If a single Sentinel robot is already a significant threat to mutants, imagine what it would be like if a robot were its evolution and came from the future. That's right, Nimrod is the greatest fear of any mutant because he is practically invincible by the standards of most characters. At the gala hosted in Krakoa, he descended from the ceiling and started killing some of the mutants present. He then managed to defeat Juggernaut, sending him flying with his punches, and even melted Iceman using a virus he carried for that specific purpose. His primary power is the ability to adapt to any ability, thanks to his control over his molecular structure. So, even if he starts a fight on the losing side, he would quickly be able to turn the tide. He can also teleport, release energy blasts, and if damaged, he can repair himself, even when there is barely anything left of him. Nimrod can alter his size and appearance to look human and disguise himself, as well as change his internal parts to optimize his functions and weaponry. And as if that weren't enough, he can duplicate himself, further increasing his advantage in combat. These are just some of his main powers. Listing them all would take a lot of time. Yet, even so, he only ranks 20th on the list, nowhere near the next one. 19. Loki. Loki has various versions in the comics, ranging from child and female versions to even those capable of controlling the narrative of the stories. But the Loki we're focusing on here is the old Loki, the classic one, the most malevolent of his versions. This Loki was so powerful that he matched Surtur in strength and surpassed the powers of the Silver Surfer. One of his main abilities is to travel through time at will, navigating the paths of Yggdrasil. This power is so insane that he manipulated events with a young Odin, allowing his father to turn into snow, and centuries later, he released this spell, forcing Bor and Thor to fight. It's challenging to determine what's stronger, his strategy or his mystical powers, but regardless, I still believe he only holds this position on the list. 18. Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom is possibly Marvel's greatest villain, perhaps only surpassed in popularity by Thanos. He manages to be a prodigy in all academic fields and in sorcery, often combining both into one. Interestingly, he is currently Earth's Sorcerer Supreme, having resolved the vampire crisis that was unfolding, which forced Doctor Strange to relinquish the title. This is the brief version of events. He has descended into hell to rescue his mother's soul, is the second smartest man on Earth, and has reached godhood at least 5 times. His resume includes feats like defeating Galactus, the Beyonder, the Beyonders, the Watcher, and a Phoenix Force host. He is so threatening that he is one of the few on Earth whom Thanos acknowledges as someone capable of stopping him and always keeps under surveillance. However, since this list focuses more on raw power, he ranks lower, but it is still a fitting position for such a powerful sorcerer. 17. HELA. HELA is the goddess of death in Norse mythology, and along with Odin and Thor, one of the most powerful gods in her pantheon. As the ruler of an afterlife realm, she has an army of the dead at her disposal, which she can summon to aid her in battle. A good example of this was when she sent her army against the Hulk, and the battle lasted for days on end, yet she still had dozens of the dead left to send into the fight. We also can't forget the beings that reside in her realm and serve her, with the most notable being the god Fenrir. HELA is a necessary being for balance on Earth. If she were to die, nothing on Earth would perish, and the world would fall into utter chaos. But she doesn't rank high on the list solely because of her influence. Armed with her sword, she can wound powerful characters, such as when she pierced Gladiator. She can also hold her own in combat against Thor and other gods like Pluto, defeating both at different times. I was genuinely unsure whether to place her a bit higher on the list, but I think the 17th position is a fair place for her to remain. 16. Void. The Void is the counterpart of Sentry, the most powerful hero on Earth and in all of Marvel. Just like his benevolent persona, the Void is extremely powerful, to the point where every time he is unleashed, the alarms of the end of the world start ringing. He is so physically strong that when he began manifesting within Sentry, he humiliated Ares in combat, tearing him in half as if it were nothing. He also faced all the heroes present, and Thor could barely injure him with his blows. Even with Loki's help, using the Norn stones to empower the heroes, they couldn't stop him. The character is so insanely powerful that in the Void's first appearance, Hulk confessed to Sentry that he was afraid, and with good reason. Void proved his might when he managed to break all of Hulk's bones on one occasion. Honestly, I'm still uncertain if I should rank him even higher on the list, but considering his feats, I'll keep him in the 16th position. But if you disagree, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading them all. And don't forget to give the video a like if you're enjoying the content. 15. Thanos. I'm sure many of you will find it odd that Thanos is ranked so low on this list, but let's be fair, when it comes to raw power alone, he can't climb any higher. Just to clarify, I'm considering Thanos in his base form, without the Infinity Stones or any cosmic artifacts, just his raw power and intelligence. Even so, he's still one of the biggest threats in Marvel, going head-to-head with a weakened Galactus and coming out victorious to tell the tale. Even when the Earth's heroes foresaw his arrival, he fought and defeated many of the opponents sent to stop him, putting She-Hulk in a coma and killing Rhodys. Thanos has also faced the Silver Surfer, utterly humiliating the Herald, and even battled Odin where their fight was more balanced. Additionally, his mind is incredibly powerful, allowing him to defeat some of the universe's most formidable telepaths and challenge Galactus, though he lost that encounter. Using only his strategy and powers, he defeated the Elders of the Universe one by one and took the Infinity Stones from them, causing Marvel's first great crisis. His durability is also absurd. He took direct hits from Mjolnir without any damage and even withstood a weakened Black Bolt's scream at point-blank range without much trouble. But, as I mentioned, relying solely on raw power, he wouldn't be able to climb any higher on this list. 14. Kang. Kang is a time-traveling conqueror of entire timelines, and that alone shows how threatening he is. Imagine having access to all the weapons from every moment in time, to inventions of war that haven't even been created yet, or being able to eliminate your enemies before their parents are born. Kang can do all of that and more, as he's already demonstrated in the comics. In his arsenal, for example, he possesses a weapon capable of destroying entire worlds, a creation that Iron Man would develop in the future. The Avengers' first major defeat occurred at Kang's hands, where the group of heroes and even the UN signed a surrender, handing Earth over to him. Not even powerful characters like Black Bolt can do anything against him. When they encountered each other, Kang threatened to send Black Bolt's voice back to the moment of his birth if he tried to use his power. He ranks above Thanos because in a confrontation between the two, Kang emerged victorious. I'd say that just below entities and fundamental beings of existence, there stands Kang. 13. GORR. The God Butcher was the greatest fear of all deities and their pantheons for many centuries. Thanks to his hatred for the gods and acquiring the Necrosword, GORR wreaked havoc and became increasingly powerful as he carried out his plans. The main feature of the Necrosword is how it strengthens with the deaths of gods, and GORR took full advantage of this. He reached a point where he faced 3 versions of Thor alone, including King Thor, and defeated all 3 by himself. In fact, even the minions he created from the darkness of the sword were powerful enough to torment King Thor in Asgard. He enslaved dozens of gods, but was eventually killed by Thor at the end of the saga. However, his connection to the Necrosword was so strong that millennia in the future, with the weapon even more powerful, it resurrected him to command it once again, making him its most worthy host. Considering that in his previous form he could already go toe-to-toe with King Thor, who is on par with Galactus, it is fair to place GORR so high on the list with his sword even more powerful. 12. Mephisto. Although Thanos and Doctor Doom are prominent faces of Marvel, the ultimate villain in the Marvel Universe is undoubtedly Mephisto. The character is one of Marvel's oldest and has been orchestrating against humanity since primordial times. He was responsible for manipulating a teenage Thanos into attacking the prehistoric Avengers, attempted to corrupt the first Iron Fist, and created the majority of the Ghost Riders. Mephisto is as influential as he is powerful, even going head-to-head with Galactus within his own dimension. He was only devoured because Galactus threatened to use his powers to consume Mephisto's infernal realm, Mephisto practically toyed with Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange when they ventured into Hell, and there are instances in the comics where he shows himself learning magic to strengthen his abilities. Additionally, he has a realm where souls go, and he has complete control over them as they are his property. When Johnny Blaze became the King of Hell, he demonstrated control over the Celestials present there. It stands to reason that Mephisto could also exert similar control, which would elevate him significantly on the list. However, I still consider him to be below the next entries. 11. Nyx. Nyx is a goddess from the Greek pantheon who emerged from the darkness before creation, born from the void itself. Although she initially served as an ally of the Olympians, eventual disdain from both sides led to a conflict. Nyx and her children were defeated by the remaining Olympians, with Zeus shattering Nyx's soul into 3 parts and casting her, along with her children, into a prison of darkness. Naturally, she eventually escaped, and even though she was weakened, she quickly defeated all the Greek gods upon her return and plunged the universe into night. Nyx chose to recreate the universe in her image, returning everything to a state of pure, empty darkness. She is so powerful that not even the Scarlet Witch's reality manipulation could stand against her. When they clashed, Nyx left the character blinded with her powers for a significant part of the story. Nyx is immortal, able to return from death if night falls upon the entire world, and she can even resurrect her children if they are killed. I rank Nyx higher on the list because her powers encompass the entire universe and can plunge it into eternal night. Additionally, the fact that she has killed numerous gods at once already earns her considerable points. Keep in mind that I am not considering the version of Nyx from the House of Ideas, as that represents a different level of power. Otherwise, she would rank 2nd or 3rd. Nightmare. Nightmare is as ancient as the first dream, a demon from a reality beyond the 6th dimension, capable of haunting entities, gods, and cosmic beings. He is so dangerous that Doctor Strange must cast a spell on himself every time he sleeps to avoid being caught by the entity. Nightmare can transform all matter in the universe into antimatter, turning the entire universe into his own domain, where dreams become real and reality bends to his desires. By channeling a portion of Earth's dreams, Nightmare has imprisoned eternity in an eternal sleep, requiring rescue from Doctor Strange. He has been able to control all mystical beings, including the Scarlet Witch, Ghost Riders, Dracula, and even mentally resistant beings like the Hulk. The only major issue with the character is that he is rarely well written, but when he is, he becomes a universal threat, and sometimes even more. 9. Uranus. Uranus is Thanos' grandfather, and as our 9th entry, one of the top 9 most powerful villains in the Marvel Universe. Though ancient, his powers were only fully showcased during the war between the Eternals and the X-Men. Despite his immense power, he was imprisoned for betraying his own race and is now only released from his cell for 1 hour, usually used as a weapon of war. When he appeared, he easily devastated the entire mutant nation on Mars along with his mutants. He effortlessly killed Magneto, despite his current Omega-level status, along with nearly all of his allies. This alone would earn him a spot on the list, but what truly places him so high is the fact that he managed to stalemate Legion in their battle. Both concluded that if they fought, the entire multiverse would be destroyed in the process. Therefore, someone who can threaten the entirety of existence deserves a high position on the list. 8. CYTTORAK. CYTTORAK is an immensely powerful extra-dimensional being from the Crimson Cosmos, also known as the Destructor, Lord of Forgetfulness, and Master of the Furious Tempest. He is revered and feared as both a god and a demon. He is the source of Juggernaut's power, making him one of the strongest mortals on Earth. But CYTTORAK's own power extends far beyond this. Even Mephisto has claimed that CYTTORAK is the closest candidate to being the true Satan or the most powerful of all demonic entities in the Marvel Universe. Fragments of his energy are enough to tear a hole in the very fabric of space-time, sending his enemies into a state of complete external void. Juggernaut, his primary herald, with CYTTORAK's blessing, became immune to the effects of oblivion, which could not erase him even within the void. CYTTORAK's tendrils captured a cosmic ship containing Galactus Silver Surfer, Nova, and Doctor Strange, leaving them helpless against him. It is safe to say that any deity would be overwhelmed by his power, and only those further up the list can match or exceed him. 7. Dormammu. Dormammu is the ruler of the Dark Dimension, and one of Doctor Strange's most formidable foes. In fact, he is one of the greatest threats to reality itself. In some comics, his attacks were so powerful that they disintegrated parts of eternity, the entity representing everything. At full power, Dormammu has claimed he could destroy the Lords of Order and the Celestials. Even when not at his peak, he was able to defeat Baron Mordo with just a single strike. This is nothing compared to his encounters with classic Doctor Strange, where he boasted he could have erased him from existence. For context, classic Doctor Strange was a version of the character who could cast Galactus away with his spells and withstand the power of the Living Tribunal. Even his mentor, the Ancient One, at his peak, was unable to defeat Dormammu. Other demons, like Mephisto, acknowledged Dormammu's overwhelming power, noting that he could dominate other Lords of Hell if they did not unite against him. I could spend all day discussing how powerful Dormammu is, but with what has already been mentioned, he deserves the position he holds. The issue is that the villains coming next are so insanely powerful that they are truly incomparable. 6. Nemesis. Nemesis is the entity that gave rise to the Infinity Gems, and this brief explanation already justifies her position on the list. She was a primordial entity who was alone in the universe and decided to create life, but her creation became corrupt and self-destructive. Desolate and unable to bear the loneliness, she took her own life, and from the energy of her body emerged the 7 Infinity Gems, though the 7th, the Ego Gem, is often forgotten. All the feats of power associated with the Infinity Gems are indirect manifestations of Nemesis's power, as they are fragments of her own. With them combined, Thanos became more powerful than death and most abstract entities, losing only to those on a multiversal scale. The abilities granted by the Infinity Gems include manipulation of matter, reality, time, space, the soul, and the mind, all at the infinity level. When reunited with the 7th gem, Nemesis resurrected and threatened to destroy the entire multiverse, intending to return to a state of solitary existence. I only don't rank her higher on the list due to the significant weakness of the gems, which might be a limitation of the character. They do not function in universes other than their origin, meaning Nemesis is at most universal in power. However, this limitation wouldn't make a huge difference, as even without it, she would only move up to 5th place on the list, not reaching the top 3. 5. SHUMA GORATH. SHUMA GORATH is unfortunately less featured in Marvel stories in recent years, but he remains one of the greatest threats to existence. He is one of the great old ones, supernatural beings predating the universe itself. SHUMA GORATH rules over hundreds of dimensions and is often considered an omnipotent entity and one of the primordial forces of chaos. Just by exerting his power, SHUMA GORATH is capable of destroying multiple galaxies. His name is invoked by sorcerers seeking to increase their strength through dark powers. Vision has stated that SHUMA GORATH exists in many planes, and his true form is beyond human perception. The character is essentially indestructible and is only defeated because his full form does not fully manifest on Earth. Often, characters sacrifice themselves in hopes of banishing him and buying time, as seen with the Ancient One, Doctor Strange's mentor. Given all this, I truly believe that SHUMA GORATH only falls short compared to the remaining entities on the list. 4. AMATSU MIKABOSHI. AMATSU MIKABOSHI is a Japanese deity embodying evil, chaos, and stars. He represents primordial darkness and chaos that existed before the universe, serving as a dark counterpart to eternity. Even before reaching his full power, he was formidable enough to conquer Olympus, defeating all the gods there and making it his base of operations. Mikaboshi is known for his role in the Chaos War storyline, where he killed the gods of the Shi'ar, Shara, and Kithri pantheons. He enslaved entire groups of entities and launched attacks on Earth and parallel dimensions, including Hell, ruled by Satan, who was powerless against him. Even formidable beings like Nightmare, Galactus, Zeus, Thor, and Gaia were not a threat to him. He devoured the underworld, forcing death to flee the universe and thus controlled the army of the dead. At one point, he consumed 99% of the multiverse, leaving only Earth remaining. However, through the combined efforts of Hercules, who was nearing omnipotence, and Amadeus Cho, they managed to banish him and save humanity. Given his vast power and near-universal threat level, AMATSU MIKABOSHI rightfully earns a top position on this list. 3. KNULL. KNULL, the god of symbiotes, emerged as a formidable force in the Marvel Universe, and his power level has only increased with subsequent updates about the King in Black. Knull was the original King in Black, a title given to those who rule the multiverse from within, in contrast to and of equal power to the Beyonders. When Eddie Brock assumed this role, he gained near omniscience, able to perceive everything through his symbiotes, including timelines past and future. Though Knull chose not to embrace the responsibilities of the King in Black, he certainly wielded immense power. His first significant action was to kill a Celestial and withstand attacks from others in his vicinity. Knull created the Necrosword, which GORR utilized in his feats, making many of GORR's accomplishments indirectly attributable to Knull. Using his symbiotes, Knull could control 3 Celestials simultaneously and enslave gods, a practice shared with GORR. It required a unified effort from all Earth's heroes to confront him, and even then, he was prevailing. Knull was ultimately defeated only when he was severed from his source of power and when the Unipower joined forces with Eddie Brock to aid in the battle. Additionally, Knull used Mjolnir along with Silver Surfer's board to strike his foes. Considering his role and power as the King in Black, Knull stands as one of the top 3 most powerful entities in this list, if not in the Marvel Universe. 2. Oblivion. Oblivion is indeed one of the most formidable cosmic entities in Marvel, and it's understandable why he claims the second spot on the list. Despite being one of the more overlooked characters among Marvel readers, Oblivion's power and influence are immense. As an embodiment of non-existence and the ultimate end, Oblivion exists beyond the multiverse, representing the concept of finality that transcends mere death. His significance is highlighted by the fact that even the Beyonder, who is himself an immensely powerful entity, experience profound fear when confronted by Oblivion. Oblivion's reach extends into the multiverse despite his existence outside of it. He has shown the ability to interact with and manipulate characters and entities within the multiverse, such as influencing Galactus and the Scryer to battle the other. His capability to break the fourth wall and communicate directly with readers further underscores his extraordinary nature. Given all these factors, Oblivion's position as the second most powerful villain on this list is well-deserved, only surpassed by the top figure. 1 Below All. The One Below All is not just the most powerful villain in Marvel, but also the most powerful entity. He is the counterpart to the One Above All, the creator of everything, and balances the cosmic scale. The two are 2 sides of the same coin. One creates, the other destroys. One is light, the other is darkness. Fighting one is the same as fighting the other. This makes the One Below All not only the most powerful villain in Marvel, but also one of the most powerful beings in comics, securing the top position on the list.